ask you about CIRIC, which is the Cyprus Innovation and Research Center, and about Gravity, which is an incubator and sort of a link between CIRIC and Gravity.
CIRIC was created back in 2013, and the primary aim was to have a research and innovation center, mainly run R&D, applied research, designing products for the industry, but also for consumers. The main aim is to not to reinvent the wheel, but to come up with possibly disruptive products, if possible. So that means that you have to work in like state of the art. So we started the R&D center at CIRIC.
Yeah.
And after the first year, I've heard about the move of startups. I started visiting a lot of events in Cyprus, and I realized at that time that running the R&D center and the competences that we had, we found out that we could actually help startups, especially on the initiation of the idea, their idea, and also during the process from the idea to prototype. So we started building services to startup, but also innovative SMEs, like SMEs in the industry that they wanted to build something new, or they had a problem and they wanted to have a solution to it. So at some point, like the second year, like 2015, I came with the idea of start hosting some startups. So I met some young guys from teams. They were not actually startups at that time, in some competitions, and we started the collaboration. And initially we were hosting startups. So naturally, as we move along, it came naturally that an R&D without an accelerator or incubator, it cannot move from the R&D to commercialization. It's really important to have all the services and all the people needed from the business perspective, but also especially at the initial stage where you are trying to validate the idea, you are validating in the market. So that means that you need experts to help startups to understand that when they start developing something, they must validate that idea, and the faster they do it, the better. So we created Gravity in 2017. So we launched Gravity Incubator at that time, and so since then we started actually creating naturally our own spin-offs. Usually when you are developing a technology, it takes 2 to 3 years. Our primary source of funding was coming from European funds, national funds, but also from services we are giving to customers, mostly innovative SMEs, both in Cyprus but also in Europe. So we invested actually in startup, but also we're investing in our own spin-outs.
So Gravity is the natural link from the research part and then up to prototype, and then you take it and make a business out of it.
Yes. It's also two different cases when it's a spin-out and when it's a startup coming from outside, because a startup that comes from outside, it may be at different stages. Where an incubator also accept startups at early stage, but it may be in certain cases they have a prototype. Sometimes they are not really high-end advanced technology. So we can come with a nice industrial prototype within 1 year. While in the R&D, usually you do the prototyping. So you are entering the incubator basically in order to run the whole business and be prepared for investors. And also you have different cases. If it's, for example, a medical device, biotech, it's a different perspective of how you start your journey of investments.
Can you give 1 or 2 examples? I know about capsule, But I don't know if there's also something else you would like to share, maybe coming directly from Zurich.
Capsule was one of the first startups that we hosted initially.
Let's just mention what Capsule is about.
Yes, so Capsule, it's basically the idea behind it was to create a new material to replace the 7-ply wood that you make skateboards, but also longboards and cruisers. So the mainstream now, like for the last 20 years, it's a 7-ply wood, and they just shape it. Usually the skateboards are very standard, and in longboards and cruisers you can see different shapes. So there is nothing new out there for the last 20 years. You have different cases also, in our case like the spin out. I mean, just to give some examples, one spin out we have now, it's a special type of wind turbine that you can place it over the roofs. In cities mainly that you have average speeds more than 5 meters per second, and the idea it's a turbine that is caged in a box, so you will not see any blades when you look at the building, and there is a technology in there that actually what we are claiming is that we can augment the energy just being inside the box, and together with some aerodynamic design of this box, we can produce 3 times more power than a normal, let's say, turbine.
You do lots of things, and it's like I would say 360-degree, if you want, package going from research to business to growth, if you want. You provide the whole cycle. I also know you're involved with in different other things like angel investing and some chambers of commerce and stuff like that, and also with the European Business Network.
Yes.
Can you just take me just quickly, and then we'll shift into. I'd like to know about your journey.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just. This is quite very important, because when we started Zurich as an R&D center, and then when we started creating the services from the first year to the industry, the innovative SMEs, and then the startups. Basically, this is the definition of a business innovation center. EBN is a European network. It's based in Brussels, and it has 160 full members, business innovation centers. And the objective is to help startups and innovative SMEs. And this is business innovation services. So most of the business centers, they have an incubator, and some of them they have also growth accelerators, which is the last stage when they're trying to enter into the market. Also a lot of technopark and science park are also big, because they can provide all this range. They have also let's say sometimes the technoparks, they have also the clusters and the industry. So you have this range of services from idea until commercialization, scale-ups. So this is what the Business Innovation Center is. And we realized in 2016 that we were the only ones in Cyprus providing these services to this industry. And we applied, and we became full members from the first year. So this is a very, very important network, because this is the only network in the world that provides certification. So there is very specific procedure to get the quality mark. You have a reassessment every 3 years, but it's a quite powerful network. Just to give an idea that our network consists of 27,000 companies that the bigs are supporting. There is more than €500 million investments every year. There is something like 10,000 of just created every year. And so it's a quite big network that we also use as being a small country to get knowledge and network with let's say, partners that are much bigger than us in Europe.
What about your journey?
Yes, the journey. So yes, I did my PhD back in 1994. I finished a bachelor in mechanical engineering. My PhD was in manufacturing system, but more specifically in computer science, geometry, and programming and artificial intelligence. And then in 1997, I got a job in applied mechanics division, working on a patented idea. So that was just on paper by a professor, and I built the whole machine and proved the whole concept that he just wrote an idea on a patent. And then I met my future co-founder when I started the first business, and we started in 2000. Building the first testing calibration laboratories in Cyprus.
Okay.
So we, in a few years, we were covering 100% of the whole island.
Okay.
I was at the same time doing a lot of things, so being a salesperson, technical director, quality manager, running 2 big laboratories with a lot of services. That was not easy. I visited something like more than 1,000 companies. I was an expert for many years of the government for supplies of different products. I've been in standardization committees, and I've been following a lot of standardization. Till now, I follow some of the committees that are relevant to the field of R&D we do.
Okay.
For example, like the robotics committees and so on, which are really important for one of our divisions now. So during that journey, actually, and as we were growing up and having such a big infrastructure of laboratories and being able to test, a lot of things. So we have like electronics lab, we have like a mechanical lab, physical testing lab. We could cover almost every parameter of calibration in the industry.
Okay.
And this infrastructure actually we could use for R&D and innovations. So me and my partner with PhD graduates and a lot of ideas, we started participating in R&D funding. So I created the first R&D team. Just to give you an idea, in approximately 6 years, we've completed like more than 30 projects for the industry, innovative projects. Most of them were like innovations on automation at industry and manufacturing. And then I got involved into European projects and more, let's say, products that are more consumer oriented. At that time it was like the wireless technologies and that was entering into the market. And at a certain point of time, it came that how do we shift from some ideas we had and we started developing prototypes and going into commercialization. At that point, my partner realized that this was really hard.
Okay.
I mean, the investments you need from an R&D prototype, let's say you develop to take it into the market, you may need much more money than that. So if, let's say, you had a European project of 1 million or a national project like 200 or 300,000, most of the times you need as much as that to take it to the market. And that was big investment, that was something new for them. So at that time, I decided to leave the company.
Okay.
And I was their co-founder for like 13 years and create Cyric with the aim basically to develop like disruptive products for the global markets and take them into the market and make them successful. So this is the aim, let's say, of why Cyric was created and why do we have incubator and why we are really in this network as a business center in Cyprus. Because we also want to help the ecosystem in Cyprus that's been stagnated for many, many years now. And also at the university that they create a lot of technologies. They are sitting there on the shelves. So it's quite important to see how we are doing it and be as examples to them of how this journey is. So now we are trying also as Cyric to develop several services also to the research technology organization universities, just to help them also on various aspects of how they can use the results they have from R&D, either by licensing or some PhD graduates that they want to make their own startup, which is the most common, I would say. And then, you may have like spin-outs from universities, but they are not so easy to have spin-outs from universities. So I will expect that to take much more time for our universities in Cyprus.
Okay.
So yes, we are placing ourselves as SARIGO, trying to help build the ecosystem in Cyprus in many ways.
From a different perspective,
Yes,
with
from a-
deep knowledge into research and how to approach those
Yes.
challenges.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.